The SRL on the NFL. Previews, predictions, and analysis covering every storyline in football every week. The SRL on the NFL. Hey everyone, welcome back to the SRL on the NFL. This is episode number 5. My name is Brendan Yerkes, joined as always by Alex Vachapante. As another exciting week of NFL action is in the books. We finally had a good week predicting records, doing our game picks. We had a struggle early on in the year. The week before, I think, what was I, 5-11? This week I flipped the script and went 11-5, and then you went 10-6. So we did much better. We're going to roll through all last week's games, then give our predictions for week 5. And starting out, it was the Thursday night game. The Cowboys edged the Giants. You thought the Giants were going to get the win, and it was actually pretty close. The Giants, it came down to them not being able to get the ball in the end zone. Very close a few times, but they ended up kicking 5 field goals, and that was their demise.
Yeah, that's the difference in the NFL, though. Like, kicking field goals versus touchdowns. Malik Neighbors had a really good game, though. He still showed out. My concern, though, of course, is he is in concussion protocol. He's still in concussion protocol. So I am concerned about him possibly playing this week, but I don't think it's going to be a serious concern in the overall future, though.
Right. And the Cowboys, although they looked pretty good early, I don't really think they looked that good for the entire game.
True.
They did enough to get the win. They had, like I said, 2 early touchdowns, but kind of just coasted that through to the win. They got banged up a little bit. So I think the whole season's been like that for them. They haven't been perfect. The games they've won, they've just kind of gotten the lead and held on to it. But yeah, the Giants moving forward, they got their win the week before. They now fall to 1-3. Dallas evens things out at 2-2. NFC South matchup: the Falcons, we both predicted to get the win. They ended up getting it. A game-winning field goal right at the end from Younghoe Koo. They defeat the Saints. Now the Saints, after a 2-0 start, they go and fall down to 2-2.
Yeah, I think the Saints just started to regress to the mean, start to actually show the average football team that they probably are. And the Falcons, after a tough start, they're now bouncing back and really looking competitive in this NFC South, making things really interesting.
Right. And the Bengals finally got a win, 34-24. They defeated the Carolina Panthers. Definitely a get-right game for them. Still not really thrilled about what you see from them giving up 24 points, but they scored more. Jamar Chase had a long touchdown. They need to get that Burrow-Chase connection going if they want to be successful. It's going to be a long hill for them to climb to get back into playoff position, but it's a good place to start. Again, the Panthers, you take it and you move forward. The Bears beat the Rams 24-18. Caleb Williams' best game yet as a pro in the NFL, and they are able to take down the Rams. Vikings and the Packers. The Vikings went up 28-0 in this game, and the Packers stormed pretty much all the way back. They weren't able to take the lead. The Vikings extra field goal had it ahead of them, but this one is crazy. And just Sam Darnold, man, like every week we talk about it. I really just can't believe it.
It's crazy, right? Like, who would have thought, like, the story of this year would be Sam Darnold? I certainly would not have. And yeah, 28-0 lead. You think, wow, I have it in the bag. Don't have to worry about anything. And here the Packers come storming back with Jordan Love. I just think, of course, he had a little bit of rust. Not playing a few games. Also, he only really played in that first game. So he probably just had a little bit of rust and then was able to get things going. Looked really good. I think the Packers are going to be fine moving forward.
Yeah, definitely both teams are in good position, but the Vikings 4-0. It's crazy. I really can't believe that. The Texans beat the Jaguars. So speaking of 4-0, the Jaguars are 0-4. They lose again. I don't really know what's going on there. I guess because all their games have been, kind of close. They just can't win a game. The Texans are very weird to me. They've shown a lot of promise, but also at times they haven't looked great. This one they had to pull away towards the end with a late touchdown to get the victory. But I still think we're learning what this team is all about.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair take. The Jags just look awful. I don't get it. I mean, I understand that, yeah, they weren't going to be an elite team by any stretch, but 0-4, really? I could not have predicted that. And yeah, the Texans have kind of been going through the motions, getting a couple close victories at this point. they haven't looked dominant yet, and I think that's my only concern here.
Right. Yeah, I think the Jaguars, I don't know, Trevor Lawrence hasn't been great. I think that might be part of it, but I don't know if it's the
Could be.
coach. Doug Peterson's kind of hit a wall. You saw that happen in Philadelphia when he was there. They win the Super Bowl and they kind of just leveled off after that with him. So I don't know if they need a new coach because there are a lot of talented pieces. Again, the team's nothing special. It's a good team, but just to be 0-4 just doesn't feel right. The Colts, Joe Flacco is back. He beats the Steelers. They get their first loss of the year. So that's kind of interesting how he keeps emerging and winning all these games. I don't really understand.
Yeah, he's elite, right? Like elite Joe Flacco, looking dominant out there. Richardson also though, like getting injured, it's starting to become a big concern early on in his career. Is he really ever going to be able to stay healthy? Like,
He's that type of player, very
yeah,
dynamic, a big runner, and that's the risk with those kinds of guys. And that's why I was surprised he was drafted so high because he has all the talent in the world, both with his arm and his legs,
true.
but he's very injury prone. All right, moving along, the Jets and the Broncos. The Denver Broncos beat the Jets 10-9. This one had me losing my mind. Bo Nix, 60 passing yards. He still gets the win. He throws his first ever NFL touchdown. And the Jets are just a disaster. Both teams missed a field goal at the end. They had a million penalties. I don't even know the exact number, but it was ridiculous. It felt like every play in this game was a penalty, and it was on the Jets. The defense was good, but they couldn't stop the run still. That's just, and then the drive where they needed to make stops, they couldn't make stops. And the offense was just terrible. They can't get the run game going at all. And then that, causes problems in the pass game. Aaron Rodgers can't get the cadence right. But then you have personnel, like you have Mike Williams and Garrett Wilson. Why is Xavier Gibson the guy you're throwing to on third and fourth down?
Yeah, that made zero sense to me. It was just an ugly game. I don't know how else to put it. It was just, like both sides couldn't move the ball by any means. The Jets defense looked great. That's always their identity, but this Jet offense, at least in this game, just looked brutal to say the least. They looked great against the Patriots, which was awesome to see because starting to see some potential there in that game. But man, it looked like they really regressed, especially against a Broncos team that's really not special at all.
Back-to-back weeks going from the highest of highs, stomping on the Patriots to the lowest of lows. So they got Minnesota next week, so that should be a fun one. The Eagles lose again. The Buccaneers get back on track. Big win, 33-16 over Philadelphia. So the team that knocked them out in the wild card round of the playoffs last year gets another one. And the Eagles are like one of those weird teams where they're 2-2 now.
Mm-hmm.
It's very very strange because you think they have more to give, or is this just where they are? Is this just the team that they are?
The thing is, again, it's just been Jalen Hurts being mediocre at best. In the second half of last year, he wasn't great, and he's not looking great to start out this year. The only reason they are kind of afloat right now is because of Saquon. Saquon has looked really good in each of their games so far, and without Saquon, they would be terrible, honestly.
Right.
They probably wouldn't even have those 2 wins, if we're being honest. Yeah, this team just has a lot of holes. They're just not as dominant as they used to be. I also had serious concerns about this offense when Kelsey obviously retired because he was a big piece to their team in terms of not only just the line itself, but in terms of leadership. You lose that, and I feel like they really are just an average team. I don't see them being as dominant as they used to be.
Yeah, you mentioned Jason Kelsey. I figured the offensive line would be a big regression, and that's kind of affected everybody. And then that goes to Jalen Hurts. Doesn't have as much time to throw, and he's big on the run game. He only had 158 passing yards in this game, and also the defense hasn't been good because you lose Hassan Reddick and you bring in Bryce Huff, expecting him to be younger and fill that role, and he's done literally nothing for the Eagles so far. And that they lose that production, and the defense then there becomes worse because of it. You have two rookie corners in the secondary, yes, talented players, but you can't expect two of them to step in and be successful right away. Moving on, staying in the NFC East, the Commanders won again, big win. They stomped the Cardinals 42-14, and right now they're in first place in that division, and Jaden Daniels is looking like an absolute stud.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels has looked dominant. Also, especially in terms of completion percentage. This game, he was insanely accurate. 26 of 30. So he's been great. He's been an awesome story to see. but also Brian Robinson. He has been really good for them as well, controlling that run game. And they're starting to like we said last week, they're starting to unlock McLaurin, which is obviously that deep ball threat that Daniels needs. He had a pretty solid game, 52 yards and that touchdown.
Yeah, Daniels, the completion percentage is very impressive just because rookies typically turn the ball over a lot and they
Right,
miss throws. But him, obviously LSU is always notorious for being a pro style offense, and he stepped in and had that team playing really well right away. Like they started out, you're like, good game, but then they beat the Giants, then they, beat the Bengals, and now they beat the Cardinals.
right.
Now the Cardinals, on the other hand, are starting to regress a little bit. I thought going into this year, they would be, like a nice surprise team. Like I picked them to win week 1, and they had a couple of good games so far. This one, they were just flat. The offense wasn't really there.
Shout out Cliff Kingsbury
Right.
for the Commanders, because he's always been good at developing quarterbacks, and he's clearly doing that here.
And against his former team, he gets the
Right.
win there,
Yeah.
where he was the head coach of the Cardinals for a couple seasons. Out west still, the 49ers, 30-13, they take down New England. New England's not a great team. They get stomped 2 weeks in a row. They're playing San Francisco now right after that, so that's kind of tough. Still want to see more out of these 49ers. Like nothing special from anybody. Like Jordan Mason's been really good in the run game. That kind of carried everybody.
Right.
But in the receiving front, like Juwan Jennings is the only one really doing much of anything. You need to get Deebo Samuel more involved. You need to get Brandon Ayuk more involved. We said it last week. I know they win this game, but you still need more from those guys.
Yeah, no, definitely. Ayuk has just been horrible to start out the year. Obviously, it's probably because didn't get much training camp. I mean, I know he's played with these guys for a while, but you still
Right.
gotta practice to get into rhythm, and he's still not fully there yet.
Yeah, definitely. The Kansas City Chiefs moved to 4-0. They're one of the two 4-0 teams. They'd take down the Chargers. This was a very sloppy game, I feel like, from both sides. Mahomes with the bad turnover, Chiefs fumble, Chargers can't hold on to the football, and it was just very low scoring. The Chargers went up 10-0, give up 17 unanswered, let Kansas City back into it. And they had a chance at the end, but the Chiefs just shut the door. Same old. There's not really much to say about Kansas City. It's just the ways they win is the same as usual. I know there's still the complaints that they get help from the officials, but they're just an elite team with an elite quarterback, the best quarterback, and
Yeah.
they know how to win games. They get the lead. The defense is good. The pass rush is good, and they're going to shut it down. They're going to make it hard on you, and they close out this game, and they're moved to 4-0, and they're looking like the favorite in the AFC again, but could potentially three-peat.
Yeah, no, I right now I'm not picking against the Chiefs until they prove me otherwise. Even though Mahomes hasn't fully looked like himself yet, I feel like that's also partially the scary part about all this. He hasn't looked particularly great yet. Watch out when he starts to hit his stride, and they're still 4-0.
I feel like we've seen this the last couple of years, though, where he'll start out a little slow.
Right.
He'll
Yeah.
start a little slow. He'll pick it up like around October. Then in November, they start to fade out a little bit. And then towards the end of November into December,
They turn it
they
on.
turn it on.
Yep.
And then they just are like, a machine. But they don't have to be perfect now because they're that talented that they're going to win games, like this regardless based on the talent they have. And again, with that, they haven't done anything with Travis Kelce. He's been invisible. We say it every week. He's still done nothing. Wait till he wakes up. Then you already have the run game that's playing well. Kareem Hunt's back. He had a solid game for his return to Kansas City, where he started his career. Xavier Worthy's still being talented. Now, the Rashee Rice thing is going to be tough, so that's going to definitely need Kelce to wake up because Rice being out, he's been a solid piece that they've been able to get the ball to last year and help them win. So it's just a brutal situation that Mahomes is the one that hits into him, injures him, but they're going to have to start distributing the ball around. And for the Chargers, they're just an average team. Like they need more players. Like Herbert can help them win some games, but there's just not enough talent there. They had more talent in the last few years, weren't able to capitalize because of poor coaching, and now here we are, and they are just an average team, and they almost won. They usually give the Chiefs a good run, regardless of talent when they play.
I feel like though, regardless, with the Chargers, I feel like they're in a much better spot than people thought that they would be. 2-2, and they actually have very good defensive numbers. They're actually first in opponents' points per game allowed, which is pretty shocking, honestly. But yeah, I think that they're in a better spot than people think. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, but uh, they look pretty decent right now.
Well, look, win a couple games in the beginning of the year. Keep your record around 500, and you never know. You could push for a wild card at the end of the year.
True.
If you lose, a lot in September, then your season's kind of over before it starts.
Right.
So, you never know what can happen. You've seen teams that really aren't that great make it in and then maybe surprise some people. But that's how it starts. Sometimes like the Texans last year, nobody really expected them to be there. They find their way in, they win a playoff game, and now they're thought about as one of the best teams in the NFL. It only takes 1 year to change that whole stigma, and it's a mindset too. Moving on,
so much, yeah.
Yeah, another team in the AFC West that got a win is the Raiders. They take down the Browns, who just look terrible. Not all on Deshaun Watson, but the whole team just needs to figure this out. I mean, I don't know what's happening. This defense, we all thought it was a super elite defense coming into the year, and I'm still been kind of high on them. And every week, I just lose more and more confidence in this Cleveland team. They just have shown nothing. They're 1-3 now.
1-3. Yeah.
So they're just in a lot of winnable games in the early portion of the schedule. They've played Jacksonville, which was their only win. Then they've lost to Dallas, who's a good team. They also lose to the Giants and the Raiders.
Teams, yeah.
Winnable games. And if you want to be a playoff team, especially in a competitive AFC, those are games you have to win. And the Raiders, they're going to lose to Devontae Adams soon. But I said they're going to be. They always play hard. This Raider team. They've always been that way. And no game is an easy game. And here we are. They lose to the Panthers and then beat the Browns the next week.
Right, yeah. That's how the NFL is. Any given week.
All right, Sunday Night Football. The Bills finally lose. They get absolutely curb stomped by the Baltimore Ravens, 35-10. Big game, big day on the ground. Derrick Henry had a nice showing for Baltimore. He's just an absolute weapon for them to add. If they can get him going like this, 199 yards. That's got to be the most for somebody in a game so far this year.
Probably.
It's really insane. He's been playing for years now, and he's still putting up these numbers. This is an offense for him to thrive in because you have Lamar as an offensive running threat. He's a running threat. Then you have the tight ends, who they haven't really worked in too much, which is kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. And the wide receivers have been good. So this offense is really in a good spot. They started out 0-2. We didn't see them going 0-3. They get the win, and now they beat two good teams in Dallas and Buffalo back-to-back weeks, and that puts them in a good position right back in this thing at 2-2. 0-2 is not ideal. That you could save yourself. 0-3 at worst. I don't know. Yeah. And they're back in contention to take this thing back, this division, and make a run for the playoffs.
Yeah, I was just concerned with the Bills this game. They just didn't look particularly good by any stretch of the means. But I did think that they were due for regression. I did pick against them, also because the Ravens were at home. And yeah, 35 points on what was considered to be a good Buffalo defense going into it. You got to start feeling much better about yourself. And yeah, you're 2-2. You're right back into it.
For Buffalo, you almost feel like, obviously you'd rather win, but they might have needed this. You play three teams that really aren't great. Like they played the Cardinals the first week, who gave them a little scare. Yeah. They kind of found themselves. Miami, who's now proving to be horrible. Mm-hmm. And they played the Jaguars last week. You play a good team like this, you get your teeth kicked in, you kind of see what you need to do and where you need to improve. They've been I think their wide receiver by committee has done a good job distributing the ball around. You saw that a little bit. And the rushing attack, it's okay.
Cook's been good.
The defense has been good aside from this game. Like I think you could just kind of shake it off, look at the film, and then bounce back moving forward. They still are in the driver's seat right now in the AFC East in first place by a game with the Jets losing. So they have that breathing room. You can feel a little bit better and then move forward. The Dolphins, like I said, they haven't been great. They get stomped by the Titans 31-12. The Titans finally win a game. They go to 1-3. I thought they've been better than their record indicates all this year. And Miami without Tua is just not good at all. And the last game of the week, the Lions and the Seattle Seahawks. The Lions get the win 42-29. And Jared Goff with an ultra impressive performance, completing every single pass that he threw. He went, I think, 16 for 16. If that's correct.
18 for 18, but yeah.
18 for 18, right. And they win. Lions at home, it's just that's a different environment. They've
Yeah.
been good there lately.
Yeah, no, they're dominant at home. They're always going to put up points. Even Jared Goff had a reception touchdown. Like, what? That's so insane. This Lions team, offensively under Dan Campbell is just really good. But Seattle put up a tough fight too. I mean, they went 3-0 going into it. Uh, I didn't expect them to start off 4-0, but still 29 points. That's really good. Take that as a
Right.
moral victory.
I mean, look, Kenneth Walker had 3 touchdowns. Like, you still score 29 points, so it's not
Right.
something to, you're happy with the offense. Like, if your defense, you kind of go back to the drawing board and say, if
Definitely.
our offense scores 29 points, we can't be losing. But for the Lions, I think their offense is becoming extra explosive because you're opening up Jamison Williams, and he could run the ball on a jet sweep. You could toss the ball, throw the ball, do anything with him. And
Right.
that kind of really changes the dynamic and allows a more dangerous offense where you don't really know what's going to happen. So that'll be interesting to see going forward. As we move forward now to our picks for Week 5, starting things out Thursday Night Football. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be rolling with the Bucks here. I just think they've looked better than the Falcons at this point. I understand that the Falcons are starting to play some better football, but Baker has just looked so good. He had a tough week 2 weeks ago, bounces back this previous week. I understand that the Falcons are home, but I'm gonna be taking the Bucks here.
Everything you just said, I completely agree with. I'm going with Tampa Bay, even though they are on the road, like you said. The Falcons, right, home team, you're going to have the crowd. They had a big win against the Saints, but this is a huge game. It's very early in the year. I think this division's coming down to these two teams. The Buccaneers have looked really good so far. I like how their passing attack has looked under Baker. They had a not so great game. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. Week
Yeah,
3, they didn't look great. Nice bounce back win against the Eagles last week. I think they're going to keep that rolling, and they're playing confident, where the Falcons, I think, aren't very confident, although
right.
they won their last game. So I'm going to take Tampa Bay. They're going to move to 4-1 and take a 2-game lead in this division.
All right.
Moving forward,
Yeah.
London game.
Yep. London game. I feel like every week I pick the Jets, but I'm gonna be picking the Jets again. I think they're just so much more talented on paper. I understand that the Vikings are 4-0, but they have to win this game. Like, they have to win this game. The media narratives that will get pushed if Sam Darnold beats the Jets, it would
Your
just be
narrative.
ridiculous. I mean, yeah, I'll push a narrative too. I mean, if it happens, but I just, there's just no way, right? There's no way that the Jets are just not
Yeah,
going to.
there's no way the Jets lose to the Vikings, right?
I don't see a way. I think they're they just they have to win. They
There's no
have.
way they lose. So give me the Vikings.
You're taking the Vikings?
I'm taking the Vikings. My
Wow. Okay.
confidence level in this team is shot way down, and nothing would be more Jets than for their former 3rd overall pick, who I believed in to be
You
an
did?
elite quarterback, as Alex knows more than anybody on this
Yep.
earth, that we would argue about this every single day. And I still have respect for Sam Darnold. He deserves this chance, and this isn't what this is about. Obviously, like the Jets, I think he would still be here if the coaching staff wasn't miserable and ruined him. That's a separate thing.
Sure.
He's got elite receivers in Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Getting it to both of them,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them's going to be open because you can't guard both.
Nope.
Aaron Jones has been very good. That offense is very quarterback friendly, and everything's been very easy for him. Now, the Jets, maybe they're bipolar, and maybe they come back in their elite defense this game, and they just shut him down and make him see ghosts again, and he throws interceptions.
There you go.
I haven't seen it yet, and after last 2 weeks, like, I don't know if I could pick the Jets after that loss last week. The offense had nothing. I get it was raining, but you need to show me something. And this is going to be a shootout type game, I feel like. And it's in London, so it's kind of a neutral site. It's going to be kind of weird, but I don't know. Who is that going to affect more? Sam Darnold's got a chip on his shoulder. I'm going to take the Vikings to win this game. I know it is very surprising, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, I won't be happy about it, but
Right, yeah. But you got to get your picks up. I get it.
right. Listen, I've picked the Jets every single week, and I've had many people tell me that I'm a homer.
It's true.
So, maybe that's a little bit a part of this, but I just gotta be reasonable here. Like,
True. I get it.
All right. To the 1 p.m. slate, Carolina and Chicago. Give me the Bears. They looked much better last week. The Panthers, showing some fight. They've looked better under Andy Dalton. They scored a decent amount of points last week, but the Bears defense I like, and Caleb Williams is going to do just enough in this game. I don't think they're going to be spectacular, but take the win there.
I am also going to be taking the Bears at home here. Caleb has looked decent the past couple of games, so I'm liking that. But I also like that they're starting to actually unlock the Swift, who they brought in, and first few games wasn't looking great, but this past game, phenomenal.
Right.
So I feel like they're starting to unlock that run game with Swift. Be on the lookout for that.
So much easier for a rookie quarterback when you have a dynamic running back to open things up. All right, we got another huge divisional game this week, Baltimore and Cincinnati. And what's so important about this one is that if the Bengals can find a way to win, then they bridge the gap to just one game between them and Baltimore. And
True.
or would they? Yeah, because Baltimore is 2-2 right now,
2-2.
and
Yeah.
Cincinnati's 1-3. No, then they'd be tied.
They would be tied. Yep.
Just like that, they'd be tied. So if Baltimore could win, they really, build themselves a nice little cushion there. And after last week's showing, they beat up on the Bills. Yes, they're on the road. Give me the Baltimore Ravens. I just think the run game is got so much going on, and the Bengals offense doesn't have enough. And after shutting down the Bills offense, that looked really good. I think the Ravens D is going to be able to do it again to Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, because that's the only thing that they've been showing. Yes, I know it hasn't been great. They unlocked it a little bit last week, but that's the only part of their offense that's really been very, very good so far this year. And if you could kind of corner that in, then the rest of it's gonna shut down too.
Yeah, I'm also just going to be going with the Ravens here. I just think that they've looked much better at this point. Yeah, they started off 0-2, but then they bounced back properly. The Bengals just don't look great right now. Even though, yeah, they won last week against Carolina, it was still a little too close for comfort for me. So I'm not liking how they're looking right now. Give me the Ravens. Even on the road here, give me the Ravens.
All right. AFC East matchup. Dolphins and the Patriots. I'm curious for your pick on this one.
I'm gonna be rolling with the Dolphins here. I understand that they haven't looked good uh with either Huntley or Thompson, but the Patriots aren't too great of a team either, if we're being real. Uh I think Huntley also looked decent in terms of just being able to rush the ball last game. So if they're able to get him going in space, I think that could be interesting. They're trying to take some deep shots to Tyreek Hill. I understand that they're not working out, but maybe another week, another few practices, they could start to get a little bit of a connection. If they could just get one play, like that could be the difference in this game alone.
I'm going to ride with New England. They're the home team. It's going to, starting to get a little bit colder out. Miami's usually better at home. Both these two teams in the last 2 weeks have each gotten blown out. But I think the Patriots, it's a more winnable game for them, because I like how their defense has played throughout the year. Like, yes, they've been blown out. They've given up a lot of points. But the team is also, the offense isn't great. And there's literally zero talent there. But their defensive line is going to get to the quarterback. They're going to put themselves in a position to win, and it's going to be one of those close, ugly games, because Miami's offense isn't as dynamic as it is with Tua. They can't get the ball to Tyreek. They're not going to be able to, and it's going to be some old school classic New England Patriots football up in Foxborough, and I think they're going to get their second win of the year. Cleveland and Washington. Washington has been the better team, and I'm going to take Washington again. Cleveland, I have no reason to pick them. It's crazy to, when you think about it, to pick the Commanders to go 4-0, but I can't even look at it that way. Just purely matchup wise, I have to look at how poorly the Browns have been playing, and until Jaden Daniels slows down or has a rookie moment, I can't pick against them.
Yeah, I agree with you here. I'm also going to be going the Commanders. They just look so much better than the Browns right now. At least definitely offensively. I think that their defense has also been a little bit slept on. I think they've been pretty good, to say the least. And
A lot of veterans there.
Yeah, a lot of veterans there. I think Wagner is holding it down in terms of the linebacker spot. But yeah, just Deshaun is just not good anymore in my eyes, and he just hasn't shown me anything this year. So I'm going to be rolling with the Commanders.
Might have to blow it up in Cleveland. Colts and Jaguars, a AFC South one. I was tempted to go with Jacksonville here, because I think that, yeah, you know what? Give me Jacksonville. They're 0-4. You don't want to fall to 0-5. They've been in their last few games, and I think it's desperation mode. Joe Flacco was good last week, but if Joe Flacco's playing, there's too much talent on the Jaguars defense to let that old man cook them up. So give me the Jags to get their first win.
Yeah, I also had the Jags here, getting their first win of the year. I just think 0-5. Like, I'm even shocked right now
That's what
that
I'm saying.
I'm even shocked that they're 0-4. Like, I understand that, yeah, they're not a phenomenal team, but I thought that 0-4 really. So if they go 0-5, it's just gonna be like, all right, then I fully have given up on them. Like, it would be insane. And yeah, it's just also there's concerns about even Jonathan Taylor playing. So if Jonathan Taylor doesn't play as well, uh,
And Flacco being, yeah.
and Flacco playing,
I mean, they
like,
beat the Steelers last week, so that kind of made it a tougher decision, but still.
true. But yeah, I want to give Jacksonville the benefit of the doubt here. I just think, all right, they're at home. They could finally just pull out one victory.
Right. All right, so this one should be a tough one to pick. The Buffalo Bills are going to Houston. Buffalo coming off the big blowout loss to Baltimore. Houston, they beat Jacksonville. No, not looking so great. And this was a really tough one to pick for me, because Buffalo could bounce back. But I think the moment is big in Houston. This could be a big opportunity for a attention-seeking game where they can kind of put themselves on the map this year, with a statement win against a good team. Buffalo are now vulnerable, like we saw last week. And C.J. Stroud, Stephon Diggs playing against
Yep,
Buffalo in this
that's
game.
cool.
And, Houston's at home. They're going to want to put themselves on the map in the AFC. So I think while it's a good time that they're playing Buffalo, that'll help them get the win. But definitely a tough one to pick here.
Yeah, I'm gonna be going with the Texans here. I just think that Buffalo did not look good last week, and that they're going away. I feel like that's also a big factor for me. I feel like the Texans just play better at home, and their offense has looked pretty solid to say the least. But again, they haven't looked dominant yet, and I feel like that's been my biggest concern. But I think that they're, like you said, I think that they're gonna pull out here a statement win. Like, oh wow, we beat the Bills. Like,
Right.
we should be in serious conversations of being contenders in the AFC.
Right. So the Raiders are playing the Broncos. This one's in Denver, and I'm going to ride with the Broncos. Yeah, the Raiders, they, upset wins this year, big losses. They're very, very strange. They go back and forth a lot. And I think the win for Denver, although the offense wasn't good, like Bo Nix, like I said, 60 yards in the air, I think that's the type of game that you could take back. You're playing in front of your home fans. You got 2 wins now. You're feeling better about yourself because you moved to 2-2. And that, I think he's honestly going to have a great game because that secondary is not very good. I know the pass rush is good for the Raiders, but I think they're going to be able to escape that. Nix has already shown a strong ability to escape the pocket, expand plays, and run. And I think he's going to do a whole lot of that this game. Get out of the pocket, air it out, throw it on the run. And I think it's going to be a big offensive showing, the one they've been looking for the Broncos, breaking out. And they're going to get the win against the Raiders, who, are going to, like I said, switch back and forth between being a good team and a bad team every other week.
Give me the Raiders here. I don't think that I don't think that the Broncos are too great. I understand that they won last week, surprisingly against the Jets, but Bo Nix still hasn't been impressive to say the least. 1 touchdown and 4 picks. Not
Right.
thoroughly impressed yet. I just think I'd rather roll with a better quarterback here. And yeah, that defensive line could give him issues. So give me the Raiders here.
Yeah, you're right that he hasn't done anything yet. I feel like if there's a game for, him to kind of break out and make something happen, like it kind of a little bit, I know Zach Wilson's on that team, but it reminds me of, Zach Wilson had a tough start to his rookie year. Then he played the Titans. There was one game and he just came out and was just chucking the ball around. Like you're at home, you get a little confidence and you get something like that. So I don't know. I think his running ability is going to be able to be the reason they win this game. He's going to get away and create plays because he was actually looking a little bit better in the third quarter. finding some of his targets. And the Cardinals playing San Francisco. Cardinals haven't looked great. San Francisco not at their best, but much more talented, and they're at home, so I'm going to take the 49ers. Not much for me to say about that one.
Yeah, I'm just going to be rolling with the Niners here as well. Just much more talented on paper. And the Cardinals are interesting. I think, though, this game is going to be much closer than people think. Because right now it currently is a 7.5 favorite in terms of the Niners. I think it's going to be within a field goal. I think it's going to be a really tight game. I think this Cardinals offense is going to keep them in it. But yeah, give me the Niners here at home.
Okay. Packers and the Rams. I'm going to take Green Bay in this game. Terrible first half, much better second half they could build off of. You're going to think they're not going to fall down that far. The Rams are starting to reel a little bit, losing everybody to injury. No Cooper Kupp, no Puka Nacua. Obviously, we're still haven't talked too much about Aaron Donald leaving that defense, and those are the three of their biggest name players, and they're kind of reeling in the injury front, and the Packers moving along. So Green Bay gets the win here.
Yeah, I'm going Green Bay here as well. Jordan Love looked dominant in that second half. And yeah, the Rams are just really injured right now. There's not really much to say on them. It's kind of been the same old story every week. Just basically another player just keeps getting injured.
Right.
So yeah, give me the Packers here.
All right, Giants and the Seahawks. Seahawks are at home. They scored 29 points last week. I think that's going to be too much for the Giants to handle, and I'm going to take the Seahawks to win.
Yeah, there's not really much talk here. Of course, Seattle is going to pull out the victory. They're at home. Malik Neighbors probably won't even play. He's still in concussion protocol, like I mentioned earlier. Devin Singletary may not play as well. He's dealing with a groin injury. Even Wan'Dale Robinson is currently questionable as well. So a lot of potential big playmakers for the Giants already being potentially out. And then still, even if they were all playing, I would still be taking Seattle here. Yeah, Seattle is just a much more talented team on paper.
Yeah, I would think it'd be a very offensive game, but then if the Giants missing those playmakers like that, then they're not going to be able to keep up. Sunday Night Football, classic matchup here. Cowboys and the Steelers. Steelers finally lost a game, and for that reason, I think I'm going to go with Dallas. They get the win against the Giants, although it didn't look great, but the Steelers I still think are not as good as what their record indicates. Dallas is a good team, although not perfect. They got to start to figure it out. And, this is when they play their best Sunday Night Football in the regular season. So I'm going to take the Cowboys on the road here.
Yeah. I'm going to also be going Dallas here. I just think that they're starting to hit their stride on offense. They probably got some confidence that they were able to score some touchdowns against the Giants. And yeah, like we've been kind of on the consensus of we don't think that the Steelers are anything special. And they finally are starting to maybe come down to earth. Yeah, give me the Cowboys here for sure.
And the last game of the week, Monday Night Football, the Saints and the Chiefs. And what do we say every time? Can't pick against Kansas City until they give us a reason to.
Right.
So I'll take the Chiefs in this game. They're at home. Easy money.
Yeah, there's not really much talk here. It's just give me the Chiefs. If they give me a reason to this week, maybe I'll pick against them next. But right now, it's still the Chiefs, and always will be, at least for right now.
Yeah, Derek Carr, like we said, falling back down to earth and the rest of that Saints team. But that'll do it for episode number 5 of SRL on the NFL. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, my name is Brendan Yerkes, joined alongside Alex Vachapante. Make sure to follow us on social media. Follow the SRL on social media at srl.media on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode here, as it's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.